What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I know it has been a few days since I have filmed. Um, as you guys might have saw on yesterday's Instagram and Snapchat posts, that I took some time off from my computer to get away from things. Yeah. So, again, shoutouts to Kira Dent and Deli Armbruster. They gave me the idea. Again. So we are going to be talking about one of the most covered serial killers of our age, I guess, Ted Bundy. First thing before we start out, according to the website Listverse, Ted Bundy is one of the top 3 serial killers in America. His proven death count is 35 women, and his presumed death count is more than 36. Because some victims haven't been identified or even found. So Ted Bundy is known as charming, handsome, and apparently evil to the core, as we all know. He confessed to brutally assaulting and murdering at least 30 women in different states during the 1970s. And some of the states he killed in Florida, Oregon, Washington, Utah, and California, I believe. I'm not so sure on that last one. So he was born in Burlington, Vermont on November 24th, 1946. His life started as his mother's secret shame because he's an illegitimate child, which means a child born to parents who aren't married to each other. So he was raised as the adopted son of his grandparents and told that his mother was his sister. Like, what? Like, that's messed up. Even in my opinion. And I've seen some pretty messed things. So, later on in his life, he moved with his mother, Eleanor, to Tacoma, Washington, and soon married Ted Bundy's stepfather, Johnny. From all of his appearances, he grew up in a content working-class family, but showed an unusual interest in knives. By the age of 3, he had become fascinated with them. Not just, interested, but fascinated. Like, he obsessed over them. He was a shy but bright child. He did well in school, but not with his peers. In his teenage years, Ted Bundy became known as a peeping Tom. He would peek in their windows, which is what a peeping Tom is. Or, and then he thought nothing of stealing them. Stealing the things that he wanted from other people. Like, boy. So there are usually several signs in a serial killer's past that kind of shows that they'll become a serial killer. But Ted didn't show any of these. And he didn't seem like I'm gonna have bad vibes from him. He was handsome, he was charming, the type of man women wanted to talk to, which he used those to his advantage, which is honestly kind of sad. His education. He graduated from the University of Washington in 1972 with a degree in psychology. He had been accepted to law school in Utah, although he would never earn that degree. While he was a student at the University of Washington, he fell in love with a wealthy, pretty young woman from California. She had everything he wanted: money, class, and influence. He was heartbroken by their breakup. And people discovered that many of his later victims resembled that college girlfriend. Long, pretty, attractive young students with long, dark hair. Like, yikes. By the mid-70s, he had transformed himself, becoming more outwardly confident and active in social and political matters. He even got a letter of recommendation from the Republican governor of Washington after working on this guy's campaign. So, this guy was literally the complete opposite of what you would think of a serial killer. In my mind, when I think of serial killers, I think of creepy people. People you automatically get bad vibes from. And Ted Bundy was not this. He was confident, he was charming, he was attractive, and everything seemed to be going right for him. He confessed to 36 killings of young women across several states in the 1970s. But experts believe that the final tally may be closer to 100. The exact number of women will never be known. So that's really depressing, because most of these women may never be found, and if they are, they may never be identified, which honestly kind of sucks. He followed a gruesome pattern. He often raped them before beating them to death. Jesus. There is some debate to begin when Bundy started killing, but most sources say that he started his rampage around 1974. Around this time, many women in the Seattle and Oregon area went missing. Some of the stories circulated about some of the victims last being seen in the company of a dark-haired man named Ted. So I'm quickly going to pull up a picture of Ted Bundy so you guys can see what he looks like. If you guys don't know what he looks like, then y'all have been living under a rock. Okay. This will open. This is what Ted Bundy looks like. I'm gonna let it focus. See? He's very attractive. Very attractive. Anyway, he often lured his victims into his car by pretending to be injured and asking for help. So, I watched a documentary on this, and several of his victims were lured because he pretended to have crutches, and so he would be injured or his arm would be in a cast, and that's how he would basically trap them, was by using his injuries to get them into the car. He was caught in the he had been so throughout his career of killing people, he had been caught several times. He even escaped prison twice. In 1974, he moved to Utah to attend law school, and women began to disappear too. The following year, which was 1975, he was pulled over by the police. When they searched his vehicle, they found a cache of burglary tools: crowbar, face mask, rope, and handcuffed. He was arrested for the possession of these tools, and the police began to link him to much more sinister crimes, i.e. murdering people. He was arrested for the kidnapping of Carol DeRanch, one of the few women to escape his clutches. He was convicted and received one 15-year sentence because of this crime. Ted Bundy escaped from prison twice in 1977. The first time, he was indicted on charges for the death of a young Colorado woman and decided to act as his own lawyer in the case, which didn't end well for him. During a trip to the courthouse library, he jumped out a window and made his first escape. He was captured 8 days later. So I guess it worked out for him okay. He escaped prison this way. And remember, so in December, he escaped from custody one more time. He climbed out of a hole in his cell. He made a hole in his ceiling and climbed out of it. He dropped more than 30 pounds to be able to do this. Authorities did not realize Bundy was missing for more than 15 hours, giving him a huge head start on the police, which is really, 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 really bad. So how he managed, he made it to he did the classic put pillows under the blankets thing to make it look like that he did this, which I think is honestly kind of freaking genius in my mind. He eventually made his way to Tallahassee, Florida. On the night of June 14th, 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State. He attacked 4 of the female residents, killing 2 of them. I'll get into their names later. On February 9th, he kidnapped and murdered a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. These crimes marked the end of his murderous rampage, as he was pulled over by the police that February. The most damning evidence connecting Bundy to the 2 Chi Omega murders at Florida State were the bite marks on one of the bodies, which were a definite match to Bundy. So, apparently what happened was after he killed one of his victims, he, bit her, I guess? And so there was a bite mark found on the body, and that bite mark was directly linked to Ted Bundy. So during his trial, he fought for his life, but was convicted and spent 9 years on death row appealing his sentence. He was convicted of the 2 Chi Omega murders in 1979. He was given the death penalty twice, and he received another death penalty in 1980 for the murder of Kimberly Leach. He appealed, trying to take his case to the Supreme Court, was turned down. He also offered information on some of the unsolved murders to avoid the electric chair, but he could not delay justice and was executed in a Florida prison in 1989. So not sadly, but Ted Bundy's no longer alive. He died in 1989 via the electric chair. There was this one documentary that I watched that they interviewed his ex-girlfriend named Elizabeth Kloperfer. I probably butchered that. I apologize. In 1969, he started a 6-year relationship with Elizabeth, a woman he met in a Seattle bar. She was a single mom of a daughter and struggled with alcoholism. Bundy took care of him, and she said he was warm and loving. By 1974, Elizabeth started to suspect Bundy's crimes when she questioned him about his odd behaviors, like keeping a meat cleaver in his desk. He used charm to deflect her concerns. Elizabeth secretly went to the police with her suspicions, but they didn't believe her. They grew distant when Bundy moved to Olympia the following year. In 1975, Elizabeth went to the police again, this time with evidence that helped them arrest the serial killer. Bundy had confessed over the phone that he had tried to kill her and couldn't resist impulses when he felt sickness building in him. So, one thing that happened during his trial was that he proposed to a woman named Carol Ann Boone, who was also a witness in his trial. So what happened was, in Florida at the time, I don't know if this is still a thing, but if you propose to someone and they accept in the presence of a judge, you are basically automatically married. So, yeah, he basically got married during his trial, which was weird. Yeah. Boone gave birth to their daughter, Rose, and she named Bundy as the father. Not much is known about her currently. Boone eventually realized Bundy was guilty of his crimes. She divorced him 3 years prior to his execution, and according to a book called Stranger Beside Me, Boone stopped visiting Bundy during the last 2 years of his imprisonment. I mean, yeah, why would you? Why would you go visit him in the first place? Anyway, his death. The fun part. On January 24th, 1989, Bundy was executed around 7 a.m. at the Florida State Prison in an electric chair, sometimes known as Sparky. Outside the prison, crowds cheered and even set off fireworks after Bundy's execution. His body was cremated in Gainesville, and no public ceremony was held. Before he was executed, he requested his ashes to be scattered in the Cascade Mountains of Washington state, where he murdered at least 4 of his victims. So he basically wanted to be buried next to his victims. I'm not exactly sure where his ashes were scattered, because it does not say. So, that's great. Now we get to get into the fun part. Not the fun part, the sad part. His victims. No, mind you, there were a lot of them. Anne Marie Burr, she disappeared August 13th, 1962 from Tacoma Pierce County, Washington. She was never found. Well, Anne lived only 10 blocks from 15-year-old Bundy and followed him around like a puppy. Sadly, she was never found. That sucks. One of the other ones, Lonnie Trumbull, murdered June 23rd in Seattle. Lisa Wick was also attacked June 23rd, 1966. Johnny Lenz was 18, attacked February 4th, 1974. Linda Ann Healy was 21. She disappeared on January 31st, 1974 in Seattle, Washington. She was found March 3rd, 1975. So she had been missing for almost over a year before her remains were found. That's depressing. Donna Gail Manson, 19 years old. She disappeared March 12th, 1974. A part of her was found March 3rd, 1975. That's weird. So I don't think her entire body was found. He confessed to her murder before his execution and said her remains were part of those of the unidentified bones found March 3rd, 1975 on Taylor Mountain in Washington. Susan Elaine Rancourt was 19 years old. She disappeared April 17th, 1974, and was found March 3rd, 1975 in Taylor Mountain, Washington. Brenda Baker was 15. She disappeared May 25th, 1974. Was found June 17th, 1974. In Millersvania Park. Roberta Kathleen Parks was 20 at the time. She disappeared May 6th, 1974 from OSU in Oregon, and her body was found March 3rd, 1975 in Taylor Mountain. So, like, a lot of his victims, apparently, from, like, the research that I'm reading off, was found in the same place. Brenda Carol Ball was 22, disappeared May 31st, 1974, found March 1st, 1975. Jajorian Hawkins was 18, disappeared June 10th, 1974, and was found September 6th, 1974, according to Bundy. Janet Ott was 23, disappeared July 14th, 1974, was found September 6th, 1974. Denise Naslund was 18, disappeared July 14th, 1974, and was found September 6th, 1974. Karen, I can't find her last name. Karen, well, we'll just call her Karen. Karen disappeared January 12th, 1976, and was found. She was found in. Hold on, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, her body was found February 18th, 1975, in Aspen, Colorado. Julie Cunningham was 26. Disappeared March 15th, 1975. Sadly, her body was never found. Denise Lynn Overson was 25. Disappeared April 6th, 1975. Was never found. Eleni Cooley was 18. Disappeared April 15th, 1975. Her body was found April 23rd, 1975. Shelley Robinson was 24. She disappeared July 1st, 1975, and was found August 21st, 1975. Nancy Wilcox disappeared from Salt Lake City, Utah on October 2nd, 1974. Her body was never found. Melissa Smith, 17, disappeared October 18th, 1974, and was found October 17th, 1974, or 27th, 1974. Laura Aim was 17, disappeared October 31st, 1974, found November 27th, 1974. Debbie Kent was 17. She disappeared November 8th, 1975, and her body was never found. Carol DeRanch was 18, disappeared November 8th while she was attacked November 8th, 1974. She was one of the very few people who survived Ted Bundy. He kidnapped her, and she managed to escape. Kudos to her. Nancy Baird was 23, disappeared July 4th, 1975. Her body was never found. Sue Curtis was 15, disappeared June 28th, 1975, and her body was never found. Debbie Smith was 17, disappeared February 1976. Her body was found April 1st, 1976. Rita Lorraine Jolly was 17. She disappeared June 1973 from West Lynn, but there are no details on that. Vicki Lynn Holler was 24. Disappeared August 1973. Really no details on that. Kathy Kleiner was 20. She was attacked January 14th, 1978. So this is part of the I'm assuming the attack at Florida State. Lisa Levy was 20, murdered January 14th, 1978. Margaret Bauman was murdered on January 14th, 1978. Cheryl Thomas was attacked June 14th, 1978. So her and Kathy Kleiner were the two who survived, while Lisa and Margaret were the two who died. And then Kimberly Leach was 12. She was disappeared February 9th, 1978, and was found April 7th, 1978. Anyway, guys, that was a long video. It was kind of depressing in my mind. This just proves that not all serial killers may look like the guys that give creepy bad vibes. So, trust your gut, ladies. Stay protected. I love you all. Bye.